Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission here is to take that stack of sources you have, all the articles, the research, and just cut a clear path right through it. Today, we are immersing ourselves in one of the most intellectually ambitious spiritual blueprints of the 20th century.
It really is.
It's a framework that proposes this radical synthesis, and it's all centered on one powerful idea, that love is the fundamental logic of the entire cosmos.
And the ultimate purpose for human existence. That's the core of our sources today. We're exploring excerpts about the divine principle, the central teaching from the Reverend Sun Myung and the Unification Church. And this isn't just, a traditional religious text.
No.
It's a huge intellectual project. It tries to reconcile global religions, East and West, with modern science, with sociology.
So our goal today is to see how this philosophy really attempts to deliver that harmony.
Total harmony, not just for the individual, but for the whole world.
And what's so compelling here is the ambition, the sheer scope. It's trying to be a spiritual response that is fully equipped for modern life, for modern technology.
Exactly.
So over the next several minutes, we're going to unpack the intellectual DNA of this philosophy, get into the mechanics of its core tenets, and see how it engages with today's issues, from AI to global fragmentation.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. So the story has to begin with the founder, Sun Myung.
Of course.
Our sources place his spiritual search in early 20th century Korea, and this was a time of just immense social upheaval.
Oh, absolutely. Colonization, political chaos, everything.
Right. So he wasn't just looking for some kind of personal enlightenment. He was seeking a unifying philosophy, a truth that could heal what he saw as a broken world.
And that context is so vital. The divine principle, which he really articulated in the 50s and 60s, came out of this profound effort to synthesize a universal worldview.
So it's a synthesis.
A huge synthesis. Its roots are definitely in Christian theology. He started out working in Christian traditions, but it intentionally pulls in these deep elements from Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism.
Wow.
And even Western idealist philosophy. It's an intellectual structure built with, global parts.
So it's not just borrowing themes. It's a real attempt to find the common thread, the denominator, across all these wisdom traditions.
Yes.
So what specific intellectual pillars did he actually use to anchor us?
Well, two of them stand out, and they're powerful. First is the influence of Christian theology, specifically the principle of the Logos.
The Logos. Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting. In classical Christian thought, the Logos is basically the divine blueprint. It's the ordering principle for the universe, from the Gospel of John.
Right.
The divine principle takes that idea and just positions it as the universal structure, the inherent orderly design that all of creation follows.
So the universe isn't just chaos. It operates according to this deep, intelligent design that we can actually perceive.
Exactly. And then woven right into that Western concept, you get this incredibly powerful influence from Korean Confucianism.
Ah, okay.
And this is why the divine principle isn't just mystical. It's profoundly ethical. It's grounded in social structure. That tradition is what underpins its emphasis on the family, on filial piety.
The respect for elders, that duty.
That respect and duty, yes.
Yeah.
And the moral responsibility that we all owe to our wider society.
I can see how those two ideas, divine design and social duty, a really unique foundation. But the sources also mention some pretty sophisticated philosophy, like his interpretation of the Trinity. How does he handle something like that?
He blends Christian theism with idealist and metaphysical ideas. He treats the Trinity less as a static mystery and more as a dynamic, interdependent relationship that's just inherent in reality itself. Instead of focusing only on the nature of God, he focuses on how these divine attributes express themselves in creation through a fundamental duality, a subject and an object, giving and receiving. And this applies everywhere, from an atom to a human relationship.
So creation isn't just some external product. It actually reflects the internal dynamics of the creator.
You got it.
The framework was clearly formulated to reflect what was happening at the time intellectually.
Yes. This was never meant to be some ancient, dusty text. It was designed as a spiritual response to the uncertainties of modern life. It pulls in insights from psychology, sociology, ethics, precisely because it's trying to be a universal truth, offering practical guidance for navigating, everything from the threat of nuclear war to consumer culture. It's spirituality for the modern mind.
Okay, that brings us to the core mechanics. We've established that love is the foundation, but if it's a cosmic law, what does that actually mean? Is it like gravity? or something else?
It's far more profound than just an emotion, but it's also more fundamental than a physical law like gravity. In the divine principle, love is the absolute unifying principle of existence.
The unifying principle.
Yes. You can think of it as the energy that drives those dual characteristics, the subject and the object, to unite and to express joy. The universe wasn't created out of necessity or by accident. It was created specifically to realize and experience this divine love through relationships.
So if love stops flowing,
Creation ceases. It's that fundamental.
that completely shifts the narrative. Existence is driven by purpose, by affection, not just material cause and effect. And this purposeful creation, it leads to a dynamic, ongoing process, which is where humanity comes in.
Precisely. Creation is seen as continually evolving, and it's achieved through what the sources call the threefold process of creation. This is a critical concept we have to unpack.
Okay, let's hear the 3 steps, because the idea of humanity being a co-creator sounds like a pretty radical theological position.
It is radical. So the 3 stages are: 1, God's original purpose. This is the initial spiritual blueprint, the logos for everything that will ever exist. 2 is the formation of spiritual and physical realms. So the development of the external structure, the form, the material aspects of creation, the physical universe, and the spiritual world. Okay. And 3, this is the game changer. Completion through human responsibility. Creation is considered incomplete until human beings, the final and most significant stage of creation, mature spiritually, achieve moral integrity, and take responsibility for the world.
So we are the ones meant to complete the purpose of creation.
We are, by fulfilling our moral mission.
So we're not just here to admire the universe, we are essential for its perfection. If the cosmos literally depends on our moral cultivation, what is the fundamental unit for fulfilling that enormous mission?
The family. The sources repeatedly emphasize the family as the ideal setting for expressing divine love. It's the foundation for world harmony.
Why the family specifically?
Because the family structure, the relationships between husband and wife, parents and children, it perfectly models that dynamic relationship of subject and object, of giving and receiving, that underlies the whole cosmos. It's the school of love.
And what about the challenge of just living in the material world? Does the divine principle just dismiss material success?
Not at all, not at all. But it insists on balance. It teaches that while we have a physical existence and we need to thrive materially, our ultimate purpose is the cultivation of our spiritual nature.
So the balance is critical.
Absolutely. True success is measured by the depth of your moral character, your capacity for love, your service to others. Material progress is seen as a good thing that should enable spiritual growth, not replace it. If wealth doesn't serve the greater good, it's fundamentally meaningless in this framework.
That focus on holistic balance, it brings us directly into the modern world, and especially that historic tension between science and spirituality. I mean, a lot of listeners just assume they're mutually exclusive.
And the divine principle takes a really unique integrated stance here. It fully embraces science.
It embraces it.
Fully. It sees natural laws and scientific discoveries not as threats to faith, but as direct, observable reflections of divine order, of the logos. Scientific inquiry, far from being a contradiction, is seen as part of the human process of uncovering those divine truths hidden in the created order.
So it reframes science as another path to spiritual discovery. And what's fascinating is how the philosophy's description of the universe seems to resonate, at least conceptually, with modern science. Things like systems theory or quantum physics.
Yes. The source material makes this very explicit. It draws conceptual lines to thinkers like Erwin Schrödinger, who explored the unity of life and matter. The principle describes the universe as this intricate, unified network of interdependent relationships.
Interconnected.
Very. Every element exists in a dual structure of subject and object that's constantly interacting. And this emphasis on interconnectedness and duality, it really echoes core principles in quantum mechanics and systems theory.
Which look at the world less as isolated parts and more as an interwoven dynamic whole.
Exactly. So the spiritual structure of the divine principle finds these conceptual parallels in the deepest physical realities that science is describing.
That integration has massive implications today, especially with accelerating technology. We're talking AI, biotech, data collection, all moving faster than our ethics.
And this is a key area where the framework is applied as a moral guide. I mean, if creation is purposeful and governed by love, then technology must also serve that purpose. The principle teaches that technology, when it's guided by love, justice, and service, it's inherently good. It's essential for human progress.
But what happens when that ethical foundation is missing?
Well, then technology rapidly leads to exploitation, inequality, more division. I mean, think about data ethics. If the highest purpose is promoting the greater good, then data collection that undermines personal autonomy or exploits vulnerable people is directly contrary to that cosmic law of love.
I see.
The Global Peace Foundation, which operates on these principles, it actively engages in these discussions, trying to ensure tech development aligns with human dignity.
That's a very practical application. So let's look at the two big forces of fragmentation it's trying to combat, isolation and materialism. How does it address that pervasive sense of disconnection we all feel?
It counteracts isolation by arguing for a radical return to the importance of relationships, specifically highlighting the family as the non-negotiable spiritual and social cornerstone.
A cornerstone.
In a world where we rely on digital substitutes for connection, this framework insists that cultivating genuine physical, moral love within the family is the essential groundwork for then extending that love out into the community.
And for materialism, the idea that you can buy happiness.
It demands a complete redefinition of success. Prosperity isn't the measure, spiritual contribution is. The sources are so clear. Pursuing wealth for its own sake is hollow. It fails to complete that creative purpose. Prosperity is only meaningful when it contributes to the greater good. It shifts the question from how much do I have to how much good do I generate. And this ambition for harmony, naturally it extends across geopolitical and religious lines. A defining aspect of the divine principle is its goal of interfaith bridge building.
Which is very different.
It is. It's designed to coexist with other faiths, not to replace them. Instead, it sees other religious traditions as complementary expressions of the same fundamental universal truth.
So they each have a role to play.
Exactly. Each playing a critical role in educating humanity.
That's a huge philosophical leap from so many traditional religious models that really prioritize exclusivity. And this vision, according to the documents, it led to some really remarkable historical examples of cooperation.
Indeed. Moon's personal advocacy for interfaith work is very well documented. His efforts focused on finding common ground, on shared ethical responsibilities, and that led him to build relationships with really diverse religious and government leaders.
Like who?
Well, the sources cite his relationships with leaders like King Hassan II of Morocco, Pope Paul VI, even Grand Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. It shows a genuine, sustained effort to engage with traditions across Christianity, Islam, and other global faiths.
And these philosophical ideas, they translate directly into practical, large-scale action, global initiatives.
Exactly. The organizations that were established based on the principle, like the Global Peace Foundation or GPF, they operate worldwide, promoting peace, sustainable development, intercultural understanding.
And what does that look like on the ground?
It's tangible stuff. Grassroots conflict resolution, educational programs in developing countries, humanitarian work. All of it is driven by the belief that restoring harmony globally requires collective action anchored in a shared moral purpose.
You know, I think the key to its global expansion has been its adaptability. That focus on family and filial piety, it resonates so deeply in Confucian traditions in the East. But then its emphasis on individual moral responsibility and universal love, that aligns pretty well with core Western humanist values, like an intellectual bridge.
It really is. It manages to speak the language of both deep spiritual purpose and practical societal ethics. And that makes it highly resonant in all these different cultural contexts that are struggling with, Westernization versus traditional values.
So we've journeyed from this synthesis of global traditions anchored by the Logos and Confucian ethics to this revolutionary idea of love as a cosmic law, and then to its applicability in modern science and ethical dilemmas. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The divine principle offers the deeply holistic, integrated vision for a purposeful, unified life. It argues that all spheres of existence, from physics to family life, are meant to work together in synchronicity.
And the power really lies in that unifying goal. In an age that is defined by fragmentation, intellectual, political, social exert, this framework tries to bring scientific understanding, spiritual aspiration, and ethical behavior under one comprehensive moral roof.
And it asserts that humanity's deepest purpose
To cultivate mature, unselfish love.
is not optional.
No. It's the essential key to solving our most intractable social and global problems.
That is a profound conclusion. But as this framework continues to adapt in the 21st century, what's the next question it has to answer? What should we leave the listener with?
We see that societies everywhere are grappling with deeply shifting family dynamics, delayed marriage, people living longer, and just the pervasive nature of digital culture, virtual communities.
Right.
I think the essential challenge for the future of the divine principle is this: how do you cultivate that core, foundational familial love and moral responsibility in a world where the physical, traditional structure of the family is changing so rapidly? How do its tenets apply when community is increasingly digital? That is something for you to mull or explore on your own.
A profound challenge for a complex philosophy designed to unite the world. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. We'll see you next time.